Google at one time, through Google Plus, demanded people give them their privately identifiable data, a uh, passport, your information from your state-issued driver's license or ID card, military ID card, which was a mistake they made. And this put them in the range of, you're asking for information that's like a federal authority would be able to demand from them. Reciprocal ruling says that the U.S. military, U.S. government, every entity that issued that paperwork has the right to demand that information back from Google. Next, Google, if you're not aware of it, it doesn't matter if they're under Alphabet trying to avoid this, takes credit cards. That means they have to comply with FDIC, U.S. Trade Commission, and hundreds of other organized, not crime environments that decide what they can and cannot do. It is not in their best interest to ever say, I want you to give me a subpoena for that. No, you're just going to do what you're told because you're their bitches. Google wants every credit card transaction completely ass-fucked. All they have to do is say no once to even your local police department. Now let's combine that with the fact that they insist on, in fact to the point of killing off one of my accounts, that you have a Google account and a Google email account, a Gmail account. Even though I had complied with it, let's also combine that with the fact that virtually every social media account controlling company like Google and YouTube absolutely slavers at the mouth, drools over the idea of shutting down your account or doing anything else to keep you under the thumb, and they're very obvious about it. They're very vindictive about it, to the point that it's affected them legally and been dragging them into court. And especially, they love doing it when they know for a fact you're not guilty of what they're accusing you of. Even if I'm dead-ass guilty of a bunch of things, they'll go out of the way to look for something I'm not guilty of to flag my account over, just to push it, just to rub it in. Now, this isn't paranoid talking. This is the conclusion of a couple of court cases because Google has been found to vindictively do things while, again, having access to your personally identifiable data like credit card data and your identification, including, again, military ID, state-issued ID, and God help us all, internationally usable passport data. Yeah, that was the hill they chose to die on. And because of that, if you had an account at any time during any of the times they took it, doesn't matter if you ever submitted it, they wrote a check they can't cash. Under the law, they don't have to receive a subpoena. They have to receive a demand letter from anything from your local peace officer up to the FBI. They have to comply. That order can include, Dear Google and YouTube, retain records for data. Retain account information. Do not delete. Do you want us to drag you to jail? Because they don't have to do, there's no law that says they can't be dragged off. When you sign off with the federal government to use people's passport data, identification cards, and bank account data, you have signed the rule that says your ass is just going to go into a jail cell. So they're not going to argue with them. Now let's combine that with the fact that the notoriously fantastic security on Facebook, YouTube, Google, single point of failure, fuck-up factors. Obviously, they're going to have fuck-ups where people's accounts get hijacked. Now, if an account is hijacked, immediately you can go to the police and say, I have at least once handed them my passport data and my credit card information. Doesn't matter if you did, you just say that. And it's a corporation that's noted for this, and it's been decided in court that they are your bitch. My account's been hijacked. They just shut it down. They blame me for it because they love doing it. They have a history of doing that. Just look it up or just point them to this video. Seriously, they do. If you're watching and you're a cop, YouTube and Google are notorious for knowingly still fucking you over because someone else did it. That makes them the local, county, state, and federal government's bitch in every country. So let's say you go there and say, no, legit, my bank account was hacked, and they used my Gmail account to do it. Or whatever. What are you going to do? You tell the police department that happened and say, at the same time, the account was used, so the police department needs access. If Google and YouTube shut down an account, they always tell you you can appeal, even if they don't want you to, even if they'll ignore it. But that means, by definition, if they're saying you can appeal to retrieve the account, that means they haven't deleted any data. This means they're retaining data. Data retention policy says 5 years, or 30 days, or whatever, 90 days. But if they're doing credit card data ever, doesn't matter if they did it for you, and if they're doing your ID ever, doesn't matter if they did it to you, they have to retain it indefinitely in most cases. True story. Now, again, if it involved anything involving the cops, much less your bank account getting fucked or your identity being stolen, or even a claim of it, the police department can contact them and say, hey, we know you don't want this guy to have an account, but you have to undelete it. We don't want to. Okay, well, we will send the local police to your local department, to your local, main location in California or wherever, and we will seize all of your servers. The way we do it is we own Google. Google is a data processing company, and by definition through FCC rules, because they hold so much data and it ever had a credit card ever or anybody's ID in it, the only recourse that the U.S. government has is to literally take possession of Google. That means they literally say, all of your server are belong to us. Or you can just comply with their demand. We don't even have to give you a writ. You're deleting someone's account. It has evidence. Put it back up. Make it unlisted. Make it to where it can only be accessed with the person's password and login. Don't delete anything. It's evidence. Are you working with a bad guy? Suddenly they have a choice. A, literally hand 100% of the resources worth billions of dollars to the federal government because they don't legally have a choice. B, if the government's feeling nice, never being able to process a credit card transaction at all. And still having to turn over the data. Or they can just undelete your account and stop being assholes. Now again, Google and YouTube are notorious for lawyering up and putting up stumbling blocks. And I'm not kidding about this. Again, if you're a cop watching, they're notorious for enjoying shutting down people's accounts by telling people they've done something wrong when they know full well they haven't. The plausible deniability thing is dead. They know they make mistakes because they say you can appeal. They have the data. They haven't erased it because you can appeal. The appeal would be useless if they didn't retain it. If you've had your identity stolen at all, you can demand this information back. Me threatening this a long time ago when they actually paid attention to the appeal, that worked. Because at the time, the person that was making the claims was found to be guilty of a criminal act. Didn't matter how minimal. Now, specifically, I've been asked this kind of question before and personally emailed to people. It happened to me in one case, and I literally said, Google made me send them my ID. I really did send it. Google at one time demanded my credit card number to confirm I'm a grown-up, which you should never do online ever, but I did. And I could confirm it through an email, which I printed out immediately, but I'm not required to. All I have to do is make the claim, and the only way to check it is for them to unerase everything, hand over the data, and give it to the police anyway. And the police can just say in a very snippy tone, we know your corporation's notorious for being assholes about it. Undelete the account and bar it from deletion for a year. We don't want every single credit card transaction your company does is stopped, even if it has nothing to do with customers. Okay, are you going to complain now? Go ahead and squeal like a bitch. The police department doesn't even negotiate it. They know what's going to happen. Because the only recourse they have is to lock them down completely, which they'll do. Google has been threatened with this sort of crap a couple of dozen times over the years. Somebody sent me an email today saying basically the same thing. I want my channel back. And I'm pretty sure I know who did this. And it is the fault of everybody's password and login not really being secured on your network connection or whatever. I know. But I'd just be happy to get it so I can appeal to one more person and to see if they see that 12 years I've never done such a thing. Again, they know you didn't do anything wrong. They get off on saying you did something wrong. It's a power play. Sociopaths accusing people of shit they haven't done. I'm guilty of a bunch of shit. I'm never going to get accused of it by a sociopath because that's no fun. Telling me something I already know about myself is fine. punishing me for something I'm not guilty of is that cherry on the top of the shit pie. YouTube and Google are notorious for it. You did nothing wrong, most likely. And obviously, if your account was hacked at all and you called the police, they have to restore the account. The police department can choose not to help you if they want to, but as soon as they get on the phone with some snippy bastard at Google Central who says, well, we have a policy. Okay, no more credit card transactions. We'll call you back in 2 weeks after your company is starting to lose enough money that you're literally screaming and crying blood. Or you can just do it right now. You know, it's up to you. What was your name again? Would you like me to have the recording sent to them so that their lawyers can hear what individual caused us to lock down all transactions for a multi-billion-dollar company that's always complaining about not having enough money? And then the Federal Trade Commission goes after them. I mean, this is just local cops locking them down. Oh, you have an intrusion. We're going to claim it's a mass intrusion. Now you have to shut down your servers for everything other than giving everybody their account back. Or you can just shut up and do what you're told. Yes, filing a complaint in, of all places, Spain, got one of my accounts undeleted because it was a legit legal complaint. And suddenly it popped back up like a turd in a punch bowl. Well, we want you to confirm. They can't demand you confirm with a credit card or a password or anything other than normal login things. They can't demand special services because, again, your identity's been stolen. They have to do it normal. They can't make plausible, deniable excuses to keep you from setting your account back up. And again, they can make everything read-only and make everything unlisted long enough for you to be able to communicate again and say, yeah, after 12 years you haven't done anything wrong, so we don't have a reason to do this. Yes, this happens all the damn time. Yes, large corporations avoid like the plague doing the right thing. Okay. But if you had to call the cops, they can do this. Now, you can have a police officer look at this video. You can have a police officer look up precedent. Or you can just tell the police officer, would you like to call up Google and bully them? I don't know of any cop that wouldn't do that immediately, just for fun. So, if you're having trouble with a large corporation and they've ever involved anything involving personally identifiable data, anything, or if they offer a service that has ever been used for anything involving your credit card, your eBay account, you have a Gmail account that's associated with a bank account, they're required to comply because it's a chain. It's a link in in your password chain, your key ring. They have to accept responsibility for that, which means on average, large corporations are very weak compared to us if they allow or demand that we involve our data with them because they've written a check they can't cash. They cannot get away with this stuff. So if you called the police about an incident and it involves a large corporation's email system or any other stage of it, you have bully pulpit capability by having the cops call on your behalf to do this. If the police don't do it, you can't make them do it, but you can request it. You can also raise a big stink by saying, somebody has access to my credit card data. If you don't undelete the stuff, I can't get at it. And it doesn't matter if it's even just the video channels. Well, that doesn't apply to video channels. Yes, it does, because you're again saying they fucked with it. That's evidence leading to the perpetrator. They have to grab all the evidence. They can't eliminate any of it. They can't exclude it because it would be demanded under discovery by the defense attorney. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. I hope that's been useful. So in short, if Google's being an asshole about it and you've involved the police, tell the police to do something to fix it because honestly, they're the only ones who can at that point.